Hello and welcome to another television review from MBE. We're here on a Sunday night, which is very unusual for us guys, and we'd just like to thank you once again for joining us here on our YouTube channel, of course our Twitch stream. I am Stephen John McLaughlin, one of your co-hosts, and the other co-host is now on the screen. It's John C. Walsh. John, now, yes. We were going to do this on Friday night. We did watch this, I think you watched this maybe Thursday. I watched it on Friday.
Oh, it was Friday, late Friday.
But we obviously had to do a Vikram Vedha review, and this weekend has been mostly consumed by myself with the Justice League.
And I'm with me trying to kill my neighbour.
I'm only halfway through the Justice League, and you're only halfway through killing your neighbour, John. But we're here to talk about the Falcon
fully through.
And the Winter Soldier, and it's episode 1, New World Order. This is directed by Carol Scogland. Not familiar with this chap, but I'm pretty sure as the weeks Carrie, sorry, Scogland, not Carol. Carl. I'm sure as the weeks roll merrily forward, we will get ourselves familiarised with this director. I'm not going to say, I don't know if it's a man or a woman, so I don't really know.
Carrie sounds like a female.
Yeah. Anthony Mackie, Sebastian Stan, and Wyatt Russell, John, making that appearance at the very end, which we'll talk about, I'm sure.
It's like a complete goonball. That was Matty's like, what's to you, Steve? And you asked me, who is this? I says, that's US agent. A complete goonball.
Yeah. We'll get into that anyway, John. But I'm going to hand it over to you now. As we traditionally do, you will guide us through this review experience.
Well, Stephen, we will start off by giving our general thoughts on this show, the lead up to it, the anticipation. Because, Stephen, if you have got your finger on the pulse with the Marvel Cinematic Universe and the connected TV shows on Disney Plus, then you will know that this was originally supposed to come out first before WandaVision. COVID happened to change things up. I think they've done it for the better. I think it was better that WandaVision came out first, this came out second. What was your thoughts though, Stephen, leading into this? Because of course we get spoiled rotten with WandaVision. It was an amazing TV show, amazingly written, completely different to anything we'd ever seen in the Marvel Cinematic Universe before. This is a more traditional MCU kind of thing. It's got action elements, but it's different as well, Stephen,
John,
and we'll get into that. What was your thoughts leading into this? Were you excited about it? Trepidatious? Is that
it was like a little mini episode of the Winter Soldier.
It was.
The film,
film.
The Captain America film. Yeah, my expectations were fulfilled in this episode because at the end of Endgame, that's those two characters that we really wanted to see where they were going to take them, and what direction they were going to take them in. Captain America at the very end, Steve Rogers put a heavy burden on Sam, obviously with the shield. Reluctant to obviously accept that mantle. That's the thing. Falcon is a superhero. He's a hero in his own right. And he's a cool. I've always liked him. Since he made that first appearance in the Winter Soldier, wasn't it?
Yeah, was it the first one when he's on your left?
It wasn't the first Avenger.
Was it not?
No, that was
the second one.
That was the second one, yeah. Since that one, John, I've liked obviously Anthony Mackie as an actor, and obviously Sam as the character, and his alter ego
myself, Stephen,
Falcon. That's okay. I probably picked my nose or something there anyway, so he didn't capture that. But I think it was great, John. A few appearances as well. Don Cheadle appearing in there, which I didn't know. I didn't expect that myself. But overall, it was something really. I was looking forward to anyway. Obviously, two good characters, putting them together, and I'm sure we'll get into obviously tone and style and stuff like that anyway with your guide, John. But I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Stephen, I share your sentiments. Really looking forward to it. It was my most anticipated Marvel TV show.
Yeah,
Wanda was probably second. Then I would say it would probably be I don't know, Loki, She-Hulk. I don't know, but this was first, and it was because of exploring these two characters, these two mismatched buddies. We know what they're like off screen, doing the press junkets, them and Tom Holland. It's a sort of I hate you kind of thing, but deep down they love each other. And I wanted to see these two guys on the screen exploring the legacy of the Shield. It was perfect for me. And what a start we got, Stephen. A somber introduction. Most people thought it was going to be Captain America, Steve Rogers himself's funeral. Old Cap was going to bite the bullet.
Yeah.
Sam was getting suited and booted, black tie to go to his funeral. Wasn't the case. And I'm absolutely over the moon that it's not the case, because that means Steve is still alive somewhere at this moment. He can still go back in time.
He's
and
in
do
his retirement home,
He's in his
pants. Yeah.
yes. He's dementia ridden. Not that I should joke about that. There's been 2 people in my family had that horrendous disease, but he probably is. He's like 100 plus, and he's not aged as well as Bucky. Let's be honest. But it wasn't a funeral, Stephen. he's sort of pondering the shield, what it means to him, and he decides he's going to give it up to the museum, the Captain America Museum. We've seen him walking around, I think it was, again, Winter Soldier, perhaps he was walking around that museum. And he goes there and he hands it over, there's a ceremony and stuff like that. You've done the right thing, Sam. And then we see Don Cheadle's War Machine coming in. That was a nice little surprise. Stephen, I loved that scene, because that says the dog's snoring, he's clearly not enjoying the review. The reason I liked it is because I think there was undercurrents, the whole African American sort of struggle with the flag and the identity of the flag over in America, the whole stand for the national anthem and the flag and stuff like that. And a lot of African Americans don't connect with the flag and what it means, and I felt like that was kind of what Sam was experiencing with the shield, what it symbolised. He didn't really connect with it, he felt like it belonged to someone else. I loved that scene. Early doors, nice thematics being explored. Another little bit of development with him, the shield connecting through from Endgame. He's given the shield, he doesn't feel like he deserves it, it's his. They can continue that and then they give it off to the museum. What did you make about that, Stephen? Did you sense that? Because I know I like to read deep into things. Did you see maybe these undercurrents of what it means for African Americans, the whole racial thing?
John, I get what you're saying, and I understand obviously that situation in America. It's not any different to the situation that was in the United Kingdom in the sort of late 60s, early 70s, and still continues on today with no black in the Union Jack. And it's the same kind of sentiments. I get that, John. And I will be honest with you, I didn't really read into it too much, but it does make sense that there probably is some kind of undertones there with those messages. But the first 10 minutes for me was fantastic, John. It was
that scene.
Again, we talked about it in WandaVision, the sort of big budget sort of scenarios that are in these television series that are fit and fitting for cinema, and we get that in the first 10 minutes. That whole sequence was fantastic. Phenomenal. It was James Bond-esque.
Stephen, and it shows you what Sam can do, the Falcon can do. We've seen what he can do in big Avengers movies, but it really shows you what this guy can do and why he doesn't really need the shield. If he wants to take it on later on, that's absolutely fine.
He's got his own shields with his wings.
He's got his wings, he's got a little red wing, whatever he's called. Yeah. This guy's a fully, as you did say earlier, a fully functional hero in his own right. And we see that when he does this sort of joint operation with the Ministry of Defence, whatever the hell you call it, I don't know, the Pentagon. He goes to this unnamed country. Where is it? We just noticed bordering Libya. Yeah. And we have that back and forth. It was an amazing high frills sequence. It was, I says here, straight out of a blockbuster movie. Yeah. No different production values, no different scale. The only difference is I watched it on a 32-inch, whatever the hell it was, monitor, and not on an actual theatre screen with booming sound system. But it was a great sequence, the back and forth cat and mouse chase, those little glider things kind of coming in and out of this helicopter, little Red Wing, I think that's what he's called, I'm not sure if it is what he's
Red
called.
Wing, yeah.
Destroying the helicopter, Sam showing what he's capable of, finally getting this guy, taking him back down. And is that the same guy, Stephen Torres, who becomes a little bit of a buddy later on in the episode and gets fleshed out a little bit too? I liked that sequence. It showed us what he was capable of, what he does in his day job, and then they bring him back down with a crash and a bang and a wallop.
What a video.
Crash, bang, wallop. And we see the more humdrum, monotonous side to these heroes that we've not seen in any previous Avengers movie or any Marvel Cinematic Universe movie, period. It's like watching Star Wars. Where did they do the toilet? we get that uncovered in The Mandalorian. He has a toilet.
Canteen,
In this, we get to see what they do outside of the day job, being a superhero. And they don't get paid, Stephen. It's all goodwill. Apparently, when Tony Stark bit the bullet in Endgame, the payments started running dry. They don't get paid, apparently, and we see that with obviously Sam Walsh
contributions,
getting back to his hometown and mingling with his sister and stuff like that, trying to get their business kick-started, trying to get a loan. No sort of help from the government. And again, I thought that, Stephen, I keep reading into it, man, but it was almost like your man from Hell and High Water. I forget his name every time, but to do that subtle theme of Midwestern America and just the racial intolerance and just maybe not just racial intolerance, but working class people struggling to get by, try to make ends meet, try to kickstart a business. And then you have that with the whole post-snap thing. They've been away for 5 years. Sam and his sister they come back and life's very different. People are not really mollycoddling them, are not letting them get by at all. Steen, I don't know what you thought about that. I don't know what you thought about the whole action sequence, and then the exploring the a side to these heroes we've not seen before on this TV show. I like that element of this this first episode, the fact we were doing a very different, like WandaVision, very different kind of story.
John, they ask you questions that most people don't think about really, and they answer them. Yeah, you know, and I think it was well done. You're right. You know, sometimes you can really think too much into like a film and think, where do they eat? You know, you don't see them eating or doing normal things. You know, but I think I mean, it kind of humanises them as well. You know, you've got to remember they are just people. You know, at the end of the day, try to do the right thing for the world. Yeah, I mean, it was a good sequence, John. I liked the sort of relationship that seems to be building between Torres and Sam Wilson as well. Yeah. We'll see where that goes. The chap that played Torres reminded me of Miles Teller for some reason.
Yeah, he did. Yeah,
I think he looks very similar to him. And it was nice to see, you know, Sam interacting with this young guy. It was very impressionable, very. What would you say? He wanted to ask, and he wanted to ask Sam a lot of questions about the Avengers and
try to touch Red Wing.
Yeah, you know, just things that the fans want to know. It was great, John, and it was also interesting as well that for the first, what was the duration of this episode?
47 minutes.
I would say probably the first 15 minutes we don't get to see Sebastian Stan yet. They keep them separate for the whole episodes. That was another interesting thing, John, we will talk about. But it was great. It gave Sam enough time to sort of be reintroduced. We've not seen him obviously since Endgame, and one of the very last sequences in Endgame was obviously Sam Wilson and Bucky Barnes. If not, maybe I think it was the second last sort of sequence. And we wanted to know where these guys, where they were going to go. When this series was introduced, putting these two guys together, you can see where it's going to go. It's going to be a sort of a buddy sort of thing going on. But it was very interesting to keep them separate for this first episode. Don't throw them into the mix right away. Let's establish where they are in their own heads. Yeah. We got that with Sam for the first 15-20 minutes, and now we're getting to see Bucky Barnes, and I was very more interested. That's the last terrible grammar. Very much interested to see Bucky Barnes and what was going on in his head. He does mention he had a brief sort of holiday, if you like, in Wakanda. You know, a bit of I don't know. Yeah, you know, and I think apart from that, he does say, you know, all he knows is he's been assassinating people for over 100 years.
It's crazy, isn't it? Yeah, I never really thought of him as being over 100.
No, because we don't get to see the Winter Soldier apart from in the Winter Soldier, you know, and we don't know what he's been doing since, apart from those back sort of those flashbacks to Tony Stark's parents and stuff like that. But it was very interesting, John. It was great the way it just sort of the story didn't really falter. It didn't really stop in its tracks going into Bucky's story either. No. But I think that probably bringing Torres into it and his sort of little side mission was very important. I think that's where it sort of blended in.
And it kept the pacing up.
Yeah, it was a little sort of side story in there just to keep, as you said, the pace, John, and the tone.
Surrounding snap as well. Yeah. Because these guys were anti-snappers. Yeah. If that's even the terminology. They weren't for the snap. They wanted things to go back to the way they were. He was investigating that. Investigates in Germany, I think it was. Yeah. And he said Entschuldigen, which means sorry. I like the fact they were
Switzerland, I think it was.
Was it Switzerland?
Yeah,
he was speaking German.
But they were speaking German because I noticed that on the subtitles. I've got to put subtitles on just now because I've got a 6-month old baby in the house, so everything's got to be low down.
Very low, yes. Why I just wear the headphones?
You're right, it was German. You picked up on that, John. You know you're German.
Yeah, I do know my German, Stephen. Well, bits and bobs. I'm obsessed with German. Stephen, you're right what he says with the whole exploring these two characters and where they're at. And they're kind of in similar places. It's funny because this guy feels out of time. He's 103. He's lost most of his life to being brainwashed and being an assassin. He feels out of time, out of sync with society. And also Sam Wilson's been snapped out of existence for 5 years. He's coming back. He's not had much time.
His nephews are grown up.
Yeah, he's battling from battle to battle, and then he goes home. These nephews are like 6, 7, whatever. So he's out of sync and out of time as well. And I think that's something they're going to explore in this. They're going to be at loggerheads, but they'll both have something to teach each other. And I can't wait to see it, man. These two guys come to terms with this new existence, this dog is absolutely killing us. I'm going to go to me, Stephen, and make sure there's nothing in short. And Stephen, you're absolutely right about Bucky Barnes as well, man. I hope it is Bucky Barnes. It is Bucky Barnes, isn't it? I just wrote that down in the guideline. I hope it is. That's what I'm assuming his name is.
Yeah.
Bucky Barnes, it is. I know this guy's name, man. I absolutely love Bucky. What a guy. And Stephen, that was reconfirmed. My love for that character, the Winter Soldier as well. In that flashback sequence, the sort of nightmare, where we see him, and it confirms that Sebastian Stan has barely aged a day since 2013, whenever Winter Soldier came out, 14. Because he's back and he's a Winter Soldier and he's wrecking the living shit out of everything in sight. He jumps down from the stairs, the balcony. I loved it, man. I love seeing the long hair, the sort of Soviet, whatever that is, star. And then the moment, the kind of throwaway moment at that point in the episode where he assassinates a little Asian Japanese guy. He's furiously trying to get out of the door.
Yeah.
Please, I'll not tell anyone.
I didn't
Save
see
me.
anything, yeah.
He obviously shoots him. That's a throwaway moment for me. And it's not until later on where we see that reveal that takes on greater importance for Bucky, for that character. And I love that, man. And you're right, that the sort of back and forth with letting us explore Sam, letting us explore Bucky. I thought that was a cool little way of structure in this episode, showing us where these guys are at. He's getting group therapy. He's going to a shrink, if you like. And he's got this list has to go through to sort of right the wrongs of his life before he can become free and move on with his future. And I love that little moment, Steve, with the ex-Hydra employee, where he's saying, yeah, I went through the free checks or whatever it was. I made sure I didn't harm anyone. Cuts to him punching the guy. Made sure I didn't do this. He's remote controlling the car. Loved it, man. Hey, you may remember me or something like that. And then he walks away and the police are swarming him. I love that sequence, man. And two different guys, but similar situations. But Stephen, what else did we have in this? I'm trying to think. Also, the Torres side story, we kind of touched upon that. He's in Switzerland. He's getting the shit kicked out of him. That was absolutely brutal when he gets stamped in the head, incidentally.
It isn't established who that guy is it, at this stage?
Well, he's the leader of that sort of anti-snap organisation who are stealing money. I think they stole money. I don't know what they were doing, but very interesting, wasn't it? It was a sort of augmented reality thing on the phone where they're seeing the flag. I can't wait to see that get explored, Steve. We've seen Kevin Feige speaking about these sort of clairvoyant, not clairvoyant, what do you call it? It's not clairvoyant. Clandestine, that's the word. Organisations, clairvoyants like Derek Akora. Sam. Clandestine organisations and why they are necessary for the future of the MCU, be it S.H.I.E.L.D. or SWORD or Hydra. In this case, this sort of anti-snap organisation. I hope this takes on great importance moving forward. That's something I've loved with the Mission Impossible movies. Christopher McQuarrie set up this sort of clandestine group who are having influence on things, nefarious influence. I hope this is something we see.
I'm wondering if Daniel Brühl's characters get anything to do with this. You know, where does he fit in this story? I know he's in 5 out of the 6 episodes, John.
Well, he was linked to the Winter Soldier, wasn't he?
Yeah.
He was linked to him somehow. I can't recall. It's been about 7 months since we
he
watched it.
unleashed the truth to Tony Stark about...
And he brainwashed him again. Yeah, that's a link. So maybe he's linked into Bucky. Maybe he has to deal with this guy or have a moment.
Yeah.
Come to Jesus, whatever the hell you call it, moment. Terrible with sayings. But Stephen, obviously we get Bucky as well. He's going on a date. He's getting engineered by a 97-year-old Japanese guy, I've says, because he's looking at the paper. No one over 97 died this week. And we see that sort of strangeness of this young guy who's 103 connecting with a 97-year-old. They're out on a meal. I like the fact he was ready to beat up his neighbour, incidentally. That was like me today. I could connect with that even more so. Three of them trying to take me on, and I still squared up to him. That's me though. I'm like Bucky Barnes in the real world. I like that, Stephen. The 100-plus-year-old guy getting out on a date. He's out of sync, like I says. And she says, you sound like my grandfather or something like that. And then that eureka moment with the little son who he's mourning. He's got a sort of, whatever you call that, a shrine to.
Yeah.
I love that moment in the episode where you sort of realise this is the guy he killed in the flashback sequence. He goes back, he tries to make amends with this guy and he bottles out of it. I think that's going to be an important point for this character in the next episode or two. He's going to have to reveal to that little Japanese guy that he killed his son, and that's going to be the turning point for Bucky. He's going to reconnect with Sam. They're going to go on adventures.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it because it's going to be very interesting to see how that little guy reacts. I think he'll absolutely shun him.
I think, John, Bucky Barnes and what's happening in his head is the sort of main thing going on, you know, with his character in this episode. And I think it's going to take time, and I think this whole process of his list, his Steve Buscemi list, as I like to call it, from Billy Madison. Yeah, I think that's going to be his therapy. Making amends, because he has got a lot to make up for. That's one of the reasons, John, that they talked about but prior to Endgame coming out and people knowing that Steve Rogers and Chris Evans, I should say, was ending his sort of contract with the MCU at that stage. People were saying, well, naturally the Shield will carry on to Bucky Barnes, but he's not got the wholesome
image.
The image.
And he's got that sort of damaged reputation with the state as well.
Yeah.
This guy who could be brainwashed.
I think it's going to take
crazy shit.
This whole 6 episodes before Bucky's
redeemed.
We know
redeemed. He's been pardoned.
Yeah, he's been pardoned, John, but I think in his own sort of head and his psychological state, I think it's going to take a bit of time. But it's a great sort of side plot what he's got to work through emotionally, and mentally. He's got to be, but I think it's been handled well.
I was quite disappointed with that, Stephen, the fact he had been pardoned. I was hoping for a fugitive kind of TV show where they'd be on the run and the effects of the Winter Soldier and Civil War were still at play after Endgame. They were still going after him. What is Peggy Carter's daughter called? Who's in this?
She is in this, John.
She was talking about that, how the implications of Winter Soldier were still rippling for her character. And we know we've seen in the trailer, she's beating the shit out of people. She's very different to the character we've seen in the Winter Soldier. So I think she may be like a fugitive in this. But I don't think...
Is it Sharon?
Sharon
Carter, yeah.
Sharon
Emily
Carter.
Van Camp, yeah.
I was searching up Sarah Carter. Clearly
Close.
Sarah Connor.
Yeah.
With Sarah. Sharon Carter. But Stephen, I think we will. I think we'll see that maybe explored with that character, but it's not looking like it's going to be the case with Bucky or Sam. Well, not Sam, but Bucky, and that kind of disappoints me. I was looking forward to a fugitive, mismatched buddy TV show, and it's not going to be, but that's fine. We've had our expectations, our theories subverted by Marvel and Kevin Feige before with WandaVision, and it turned out fine, so I'm sure it'll be the same here. Stephen, the finale, I loved the final moment of this episode. Well, Sam is kind of... I'm trying to remember how, because I've only seen it once, and it was a couple of days ago. I'm pretty sure Sam he gets rejected by the bank worker as well, trying to get him to do the selfie with flying wings, and he's like, "You're joking." I like that sort of him walking away. Then he's looking at the TV, and the government announce that we've got a new Captain America, and it's John Walker. I think it's John Walker, US agent. Yep. And he steps out, and it's Wyatt Russell looking into the camera, gives a little wink. It's the worst wink in the world. It's like Brian Limmy Limmed over here. I did get it for Blue. And he says, "That's the end of the play," and he winks at the camera. Search up Limmy, by the way, if you're watching. An absolute genius of a comedian, man. You need to see that guy. Similar wink to that. He didn't look like Captain America, Stephen. No. He looked like an absolute gonk. But he is a prominent character who's had a good run in the comics as US agent. He's a sort of crazy cousin to Steve Rogers. He's not a cousin of Steve Rogers. He's not linked at all. But he's a sort of dysfunctional version of Captain America.
Oh, dear.
But by all accounts, not an actual villain.
No.
In the comics, just a very different take of the American dream, if you like.
Just shit.
Shit, yeah. So it's going to be interesting to see how they explore this character. We know he's a bit of a goonball. We see him with the sort of black character bouncing into the stadium. He's going to be a kind of gonkiness. They're going to play him down like they played down Pietro in WandaVision. But I'd like to see this character stick around, man. Wyatt Russell, just because I love Kurt Russell, seeing his son.
John, I didn't know it was him. I think I was watching, it may have been Robert Meyer Burnett's Twitter account, actually, where they posted a picture up and they compared it to that little animated character. I can't remember his name. The sort of wee old guy with the glasses. Can't remember.
Oh, is that from Up?
Up, yeah. And it was just hilarious. And then I read the comments and someone said, "I can't believe this is Kurt Russell's son." I went, surely not. But when I actually saw Wyatt Russell's face outside the mask, he does look like him, to be fair. He's got the jaw, the same kind of jaw as Kurt Russell as well. John, it was
I had them
just getting back to obviously Sam Wilson's relationship with his sister as well. It was humanising again to see him obviously interacting with his sister and his nephews.
Sister punching him. I forgot how strong you were. He's took out a whole platoon of bad guys flying through a canyon like look at Beggar's Canyon, bullseying those womp rats. I think that's the wrong word. I don't think bullseyeing bullseying the womp rats in his tea, whatever it was. And then he takes a punch from his sister and he's like, oh, I forgot the strength of you. Bullseying.
There's a t-shirt making bullseying. But I get what you're saying, John.
As soon as I touch Star Wars, Stephen, I go to shit. You remember Pinfo and Ray? That getting deleted, man. Finfo and Ray. I said Pinfo Ray, then I says Faux Pin Ray. I try to rearrange the wrong words.
John,
so we touch Star Wars, it's a dodgy subject for me, man.
John, we always this is one of the things about live television or live YouTube. It's we do have brain farts from time to time. We've pulled me out most episodes where I can't find the right word, but we get there in the end.
Check my heart rate just now, Stephen, just out of interest to see what my heart is, because I think I'm pretty calm now. Back in the day I had an absolute mental breakdown when I done things like that. Let's see what my heart rate is. I think it's let's just carry on, Steve, with the review first and foremost. What did you make about US Agent popping onto the screen? Because I know you sent me a message.
Yeah, I went, is this real? Is this for real?
Slightly higher than normal, what I've been drinking.
But I can see he's in 6 episodes. He's in every episode, so it's going to be interesting.
Is he in all 6?
He's in all 6. I'm just laughing at Sam Wilson's reaction when he saw him come on screen. He was
you know what it was like? It was like Richard Pryor in Silver Streak when Gene Wilder comes out blacked up. Yeah. He's like, beep bump bump, my man. He's like, oh Jesus. Just keep low. Yeah. Don't draw attention to yourself. He comes out dancing about in this sort of shiny purple bomber.
I think it's because I don't know if it was the defence secretary or whoever Sam Wilson was talking. I don't know what the title of the guy was, but he was meaning to retire the shield for good, and use it as a symbol, not pass it on to the next gimp, that can replicate Steve Rogers. He can't do that. No. He's a one-off.
Do you think that Wyatt Russell, aka John Walker, US Agent, would be worthy of wielding Mjolnir?
That one in the face. How would that one in the face,
John? You think he could lift Mjolnir?
No, I don't think he can lift that shield. He's puny. But it's interesting, John, because
I wonder how tall he is, actually.
The establishment obviously want the symbol of Captain America to continue on. Although the person has died, it doesn't mean it's the same thing.
He's actually bigger than Steve Rogers, Chris Evans.
Yes, he does.
He's an inch bigger.
I think it's the face. It's all sort of down at the one area in the head. But John, I just think it should have been put to bed. Once obviously Steve Rogers retired from that role.
Yeah, when you die, Stephen. There's no coming back.
There's no coming
wink,
back.
Nudge, nudge. Wink, wink.
55. Yeah. One. So it was John. It was a great episode. I really did enjoy it. It was something different. It's interesting because I always commended Disney for being so bold, putting WandaVision as their first television series. But you've actually informed me now that wasn't the original idea. It was obviously because of COVID. Yeah. But I think it was great, and it doesn't really. Apart from the timeline thing, this is only 2 months after the snap. Yeah. Whereas Wanda's
very direct. Months.
So
it's actually after the events of Far From Home.
Yeah, you can actually see. That this was intended to be the first release now that we've seen it, but it doesn't really shake things up too much. But it was great. I enjoyed it.
Stephen, I thoroughly enjoyed this episode. It was a very different story to what I was expecting, but for the better. We explored the personal side of these two superheroes, these two heroic figures. Get into their demons, what makes them tick, the hardships, the reality of this snap and how it's affected people. Afterwards, they've been away 5 years, they've got no history of finance, they can't get loans and stuff like that. I liked that exploration. Yeah. It was like your man from, I need to search him up, man, because it's going to haunt me. What is that guy called? Hell or High Water. He done get the one with Jeremy Renner, and I think it was Elizabeth Olsen.
All right, yeah.
Taylor Sheridan. Yeah. It was like a Taylor Sheridan script for this episode, the way it explored that sort of hardship. Loved it. I loved the little sporadic bursts of action, be it the sort of Switzerland thing with Torres or Sam Wilson at the start, aka Falcon. I liked, and then obviously Bucky getting back and reminiscing as his days as the Winter Soldier. So I liked it. It had a little bit of everything. It had deep themes getting explored, I think. It had nice little personal moments for these characters. Not together on the screen at any point, but that's fine. We'll get plenty of that shortly. And then we had the action. So it had everything, not quite to the level of WandaVision at the end, but let's be honest, WandaVision wasn't at the level of WandaVision at the end in the first couple of episodes. It was a little bit, what is going on here? So I'm sure by episode 6, 45 minutes long each one. Yeah. I hope we don't dip down to 30 minutes. I'm sure by the end of this it will be absolute dynamite, man. We'll be exploring some crazy shit. Yeah. And we got US Agent, so I am happy with it, man. I'm happy. I've enjoyed that start. Hopefully it kicks on and gets better and better and better. But look, that's us. I can't get better and better and better. I says bullseying, and on that note, I'm going to end the review. What is your thoughts on the first episode of Falcon and the Winter Soldier? Was that what was Bullseye? Was that a little guy from Toy Story? Was that a character?
I don't
was
know.
that the donkey or something?
I was just thinking, reminiscing of the Sunday afternoon quiz show, John. Bullseye.
Oh, Bullseye.
Stare the black and in the red.
Stephen?
Nothing in this game for two in a bed.
What was the exact line? That's impossible. It's not impossible. We used to bullseye those womp rats back in my T60, whatever the hell it
Yeah,
was.
you can do it now, John.
T16 all the time. It's because I was pluralising it, Stephen. It wasn't bullseye, it was bullseying. It's very hard to bullseying. But Steve, that's going to round up the review, man. What was your thoughts on that first episode? How did it tickle your fancy? Did it tickle your fancy? Did you enjoy the themes being explored, the way it explored personal sides of these very heroic figures? How did you enjoy it, man? You can comment down below if you've got anything to say. You can also like the video if you've enjoyed it. Subscribe to the channel if you want to see more reviews, more movie news, reactions, everything in between in the future. And if you do, that's what you'll get. You can also follow us on Twitch as well. I nearly forgot. If you want to see more of that over there, sans the reactions. But look, until then, guys,